Hey there, Ashland. Martha Miller here with your Town Tea for the week of February 17th. So Town Council met this week on Tuesday, and things started off with the Downtown Ashland Association providing their quarterly report. So if you're interested in kind of what they've been up to, please tune in for that. They provided a great overview as well as kind of a heads up about Train Day, which will be here before we know it here in April. Then Ms. Nora Amos, who is our planning director, provided an annual report of our planning commission and the activities they've undertaken. It's a great way to kind of get a holistic view of what the planning commission, the cases they saw over the course of the year, as well as kind of our staff efforts to keep those cases moving along. And then the biggest item on the agenda was a public hearing for a potential new development that is titled Patriot Glenn. The applicant is applying for a rezoning of about 65 acres that is right there on Route 54 near Woodside Lane. Obviously, we've seen a lot of development and activity up there with the future data center project that will likely go through. This is kind of on the other side of Route 54, up in that same general area. And the applicant is looking to rezone this for three separate uses. One portion would be for a telecommunications tower. One portion would be for designated as highway commercial, and then the last would be a mixed use of residential and commercial there. The residential specifically is intended to be a mix of single family housing as well as multifamily housing. The applicant did provide some proffers at this hearing to include infrastructure improvements, sidewalks and roadway improvements there at that intersection at Woodside Lane, as well as open space, wetland protections, and some parks and a couple other items there in the development is what is proposed. Council had a great conversation. They did share their concerns around continued development along that stretch of Route 54 and any traffic impacts that may be seen there as a result of these. Specifically, housing always causes additional traffic impacts just because you have at least probably on average 2 cars per household. So they discussed those potential concerns as well as kind of the price point of the houses, given rising home prices in the area and nationwide, kind of what the housing structure would look like there in order to keep, housing prices level here in Ashland, as well as the process by which they plan to develop the residential versus the commercial. Typically, these kinds of developments, you will see they go in with residential first, and then the commercial becomes a little bit more difficult for them to develop once those residences are in place. And so town council wanted to understand kind of what their process was, because from a revenues perspective, the town is interested in possibilities for accurately and well-placed and developed commercial because of the tax revenues that represents for the town and our ability to kind of use those revenues to continue our quality of life improvements and projects throughout the town. So council did defer a decision on this development at the meeting and really in earnest to provide more opportunity for public input. So if you do kind of have an interest of development along that stretch of Route 54, this will come back up before council again, as well as they wanted to provide the applicant additional opportunity to provide more details around the specific proffers they are bringing with that. So again, this is the Patriot Glenn project, and if you are interested, just keep an eye on our channels for more information, and you can review kind of more detailed plans and site plans in the town council agenda minutes on our website. That was it for council, but I did want to highlight this week. We celebrated Founders Day with a snow day. Obviously, by celebrate, we just kind of say Happy Founders Day here in Ashland. So Ashland was founded on February 19th in 1858. So we've been around and we're still kicking. And so happy birthday to the town. I also, given the weather and this winter that we've had, I wanted to give a huge shout out to our public works team who's just been working relentlessly. They run 2 crews, one overnight. And if you live or have a business in Ashland, I hope you've noticed how clear our roads have been, how quickly they've been. Our teams are out at all hours during these storms, and it has been a big winter for them. So kudos to them. And also just a little bit of a comment too. I've seen a couple questions around the Christmas tree still being on the town lawn. It is there for a reason. We, as some of you may have seen, there's construction going on behind Town Hall as we are putting together a parking lot, which will be better for our staff to park in, which frees up our front lot lot for more public parking. And as part of that project, a small storage facility or a small shed is going to be put in place for storage of the Christmas tree on site here. Typically, it's been stored out at the shop, and that's kind of a trucking effort for our Public Works team every year. So it's there for a reason. As soon as that shed is in place, the tree will come down. We do realize that it's almost March. And then finally, I wanted to let you all know, make sure you're aware that Untold Stories, which is an oral history storytelling project that happens every year and is organized in conjunction with a bunch of our local nonprofits, that's going to take place this Sunday, February 23rd. It is at Hanover High School this year, not Patrick Henry, so please note that location change. It's out at Hanover High School. And again, it's this Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. It's a fantastic event. It's a really important event. And so I would encourage you to go. It is family friendly, but the recommended age is 10 plus, just due to the content and kind of it's just a lot of talking. So if you have history buff kids in your life that are over the age of 10, please, I encourage you to take them out and see that. Okay, Ashlyn, that's all I have for you today. Have a great weekend.